Pretty Little Liars Summer School sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provided a list of content warnings in the episode description. Welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we have 2 new episodes of Pretty Little Liars Summer School for you.
Summer School.
Because now we're Summer School. But is it still considered Original Sin? Is it like Original Sin Summer School, or is it just Summer School?
It's weird because it's called Summer School, but then it's chapter 11.
Mm-hmm. So it's like when you get a new book in the series. But is the series Pretty Little Liars? In which case this would be like chapter 4002.
Right. I would think it would be Pretty Little Liars Original Sin, but then colon Summer School?
But that's not what it is.
No. So it's Pretty Little Liars Summer School?
I have a lot of questions. They're not really relevant though, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't affect us. I mean, it does. I think about this a lot.
So it does when I'm naming the episode. So I need to figure this out. I haven't done that. I mean, I'll do that after we record and figure it out.
Then it does affect you.
Yes.
And me by proxy.
Exactly.
I don't name the episodes.
But
sometimes I help you come up with them, but I don't.
You do.
I don't do the click clack moo.
Yeah, you don't go Pretty Little Liars Original Sin episodes 1 and 2 or whatever.
Yeah, I don't do that part.
Yeah, but this season's way goofier.
It is, which I appreciate.
Okay, yeah.
I like a goofy gal, a goofy scene, a goofy girly. I have some qualms with what we're already doing and the plot lines. Not loving that, but I like the goofy vibes.
Yeah, and even with yeah, I mean we'll get into that more, but I think it's at least there's no Mouse's plot line so far. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the things that were maybe a bit more egregious in the first season are a little bit less in this. It's kind of like toned down a little bit, and we're kind of like running into. Like I said, more kind of goofier vibes, a little bit more casual. Like the first season, everything's kind of just ominous and threatening, and there is goofy stuff, but it's like way lighter in this. Everything isn't shot as like claustrophobic and dark. Yes, exactly.
It's summer, and we're in summer school. We're having a good time.
Yeah, but I think my biggest, I think the most exciting part is really the elevation of one Kelly Beasley.
Okay. No, actually, you know what my favorite part is?
Okay, what?
The word SpookySpaghetti.
SpookySpaghetti.
Why was creepypasta not originally called SpookySpaghetti? Do you think people who like created creepypasta are upset that they didn't call it SpookySpaghetti?
I mean, in hindsight, they're like, God damn it.
That's so much alliteration. I love alliteration. I am a bitch for alliteration.
It's so good. It's that you told me about. You're like, okay, I don't know. You're like, one thing in next season is there's a website called SpookySpaghetti.
That's the only thing I knew for certain.
So good.
That and that Archie was A, but I was like,
yeah,
Archie Andrews?
Which is another thing that like Archie's just, I mean, maybe I'm assuming we'll come back around to it, but like we barely see Archie. Like he's just kind of out. It's like they just kind of tidy things up and they move past real quick to like, we got new things going on now.
We do.
I'm assuming we'll come back around with all the Bloody Rose stuff, but it's kind of funny that it's like they give us about 5 minutes of like, okay, we just need to do some quick things of like tidying up season 1. These people aren't coming back, and now we're just on to something new.
Also, the radio in Dr. Sullivan's office is so Riverdale.
Okay, yeah, so they do.
We've done the dinerification of this world now.
Yeah, it's all 1950s again, like Riverdale, like Archie comics with certain stuff, and then in other ways, it's like
very modern still.
Yeah, that's, exactly. Or then in like the pawn shop. It's like a Dell computer from like the early 2000s. So it's kind of all over the place, and I don't know why they do the radio thing, because the radio thing is extremely distracting. Yeah,
the rest of it I was kind of like, well, it is what it is, but then the radio thing, like the old computer, you can kind of write off as like, oh, that's just what they like. Mouse says like, oh, my parents use it to print labels or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they have like one specific purpose, and so you keep the old computer that has the software on it because you're not going to do anything with it. But like the radio is just strange.
Yeah, because it makes sense in Riverdale because it's pulling from Archie Comics, which is very 1950s, right? Like
And like the American
or
dream.
1960s, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, maybe 50s. I think 50s.
I think it's 50s.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I don't know. Interesting.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like bad, but it was distracting.
Exactly. It's kind of like, what are we doing here? And there was a certain when they were doing the self-defense class, I was like, does this school look nicer? And then we cut to the bathrooms later. I'm like, oh no, this is still a shithole.
They just cleaned the athletics.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, all right, this is better. But
that and like the cheerleading uniform is like an old school cheerleading uniform on one of the extras to the side. Like it's very specific.
I don't know. I don't get what that adds. I guess that sense of
is it like because it's older, like because there's less money in this area, but then like why would Dr. Sullivan maybe Dr. Sullivan's just super into radios and we didn't know.
Right. And the radio I think would wrap back around to being like a hobbyist item,
which is fine if they like wrote it, if they explained it.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a lot of other exciting things other than us getting hung up on this radio that's in one
Yeah, they
scene.
couldn't have just gotten like a Google alert even, or like
Yeah.
do people still do Google alerts? But you know what I mean, like a notification.
Because I understand they don't want to show. They may not. They only have 8 episodes, so they're like trying to be as economical as possible, maybe, of like not showing the trial.
Mm-hmm.
But which is I think is something that's lost. But
yeah,
we'll also see where we're going with 8 episodes, because like 2 episodes in, it's like we're kind of taking our time again, huh? We got 6 more episodes left.
Well, think about how the Pretty Little Liars, like the original show, ended. You know what I mean? We crammed it all in at the end.
That's true. 2-hour finale with the wildest twists you've never seen coming. Diamonds are forever. Well, should we jump into the first episode for today?
Yes.
Chapter 11, SpookySpaghetti.com. The Hayworths and Imogen exchange Christmas gift. Oh, it's Christmas morning. Hayworths and Imogen exchange gifts. This picks up exactly pretty much right after the end of the series finale. Imogen gets a call from Kelly that A killed Chip and her dad and is now on the loose. Everyone gathers at the Hayworth house as a new deputy Maroon, someone that we haven't met.
I think that was the deputy that originally Tabby. I almost said Chandler. I was like, what's her name on the show? Tabby was going to go report her assault to.
Right. We just never saw her on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Assures them it's like the police have everything under control and stay under lockdown until we can apprehend Archie. The girls and Kelly go upstairs to talk in Tabby's room. Tabby goes full Scream here of being like, well, the killers do this. Scream being like extremely meta of like, well, okay, people in a horror movie would act like this and then people get killed. Or like, oh, we must be the final people. Like, Tabby starts doing that in this episode. So Tabby says, in every horror movie sequel, the killer goes after loose ends, and they realize that the other captives from the school are now targets of Archie. We see Madame Geary get killed, and the drug dealer is dead behind Pinball Pizza. Mouse calls to warn Steve. He's in his car, but then as he answers, he gets his throat slit in the back seat by A.
We can talk about this more later, but my only thought watching this, I was like, A is booked and busy.
Oh, yeah.
How is A doing that? Like, they're calling these people so, like, how close together were these people?
Yeah.
And then also, like, A's accomplishing more in one night than Allie did the night she went missing, and that's saying something.
Yeah. Listen.
A's everywhere.
And Archie saw what Allie did and said, bet?
Girlie, I could do you one better.
Mm-hmm. 1 week later, Tabby
do it in a mask.
Exactly. Potentially made out of skin from my mother. Who knows?
I feel like that would go bad.
Yeah. Probably doesn't smell pleasant. 1 week later, Tabby theorizes that since it's New Year's Eve, Archie will visit Angela Waters' grave since it's the anniversary of her death, and she comments that this is a classic horror villain trope. They alert Deputy Maroon, and guess what? She's right. Archie goes to visit Angela's grave and then is caught by a SWAT team. Sydney gets a call from Deputy...
Seems really counterintuitive, like when you think about it. Like, if that's like a trope, like you would think Archie would know that.
Archie's not watching movies, just Tabby.
That's true, I guess.
I mean, hard to... I don't know if Archie got to watch movies in the cage.
Sydney, probably right.
Yeah. Sydney gets a phone call from Deputy Maroon as everyone waits in the kitchen. She's like, they got him. Mission accomplished. 6 months later, it's the last week of school. The liars attend self-defense classes and then attend a group therapy session with Dr. Sullivan. The girls all feel stressed and trapped waiting in limbo for what will happen to Archie. Oh yeah, sorry. I sped past that. Dr. Sullivan. We remember from the original series? The woman who was kidnapped by A and then came back?
Doesn't Toby find her?
Oh yes, Toby finds her and brings her back. And is like, oh, I just had to get out of town. Dr. Sullivan realized that Archie's trial is over and the jury is in deliberations, and she wants them to put their trust in the justice system, which, interesting. Dr. Sullivan is doing things in this series that I'm like, Dr. Sullivan, you should know better.
You know, like you watched what happened in Rosewood.
Mm-hmm. And just also as a general practitioner, I have some questions.
I want to know if Dr. Sullivan's a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Like she's prescribing medication, but she's kind of doing talk therapy, and usually like the person who prescribes your medication is doing like a 15-minute session. They're not like doing like long talk therapy. And also like she's just like, here, Imogen, take these drugs, but like
yeah, like, that's when we get to that I have major qualms about what's going on there.
Okay, cool.
The verdict,
we don't even know what kind of anxiety medication it is. Is this an SSRI? Is this a benzo? It feels like it's a benzo because she takes it on the bus when she's panicky. But like, is it really? We can get there when we get there.
The verdict will be either Archie will be sent away to Welby or be given a death penalty.
Would we know anyone can break out of Welby? Allie did it.
especially I
say anybody like Allie. Type. Yeah. Well, and I mean, and these two already have so many parallels.
Exactly. That's right. You don't put them in there. Noah says she spoke to her mom, who's still in rehab and is almost 6 months sober. The girls have lunch at Pinball Pizza. Mouse discusses the SpookySpaghetti website, which is like creepypasta. So people go on and post about spooky, scary stories and urban legends and things. And then fans have been posting drawings and paintings of Archie. Tabby gets a rejection email from PIFT, the Pittsburgh International Festival of Terror, where she submitted her short film, and she's gotten rejections from every other festival she's applied to. Mouse is like, you should put it online. And the other girls all agree, and Tabby's like, I'll upload it to Vimeo. Mouse shows Ash the SpookySpaghetti website. She's been obsessing over it the last 6 months because of all the Archie Waters content, and then he's like, well, how about we get away from there and we can hook up instead? Noah, who's staying at Sean's house, sneaks into his room at night to hook up. Imogen leaves a gift basket on a doorstep for her daughter, but as she's leaving, the Winters family, who adopted her baby, now named Estelle, stop her, and they're like, you need to stop leaving gift baskets on our doorstep and stop coming by, and we'll provide you monthly updates to you as agreed. Sean's mom stops Noah in the living room and grills her for sneaking into Sean's room. It's like, I heard you sneaking into Sean's room last night. It's like, okay, what are you doing? And says as long as
if your teenager is having sex safely at home and that's the worst thing they're doing, worry about something else.
So what are you doing at night? You just just like walking around the house, hearing things, listening for things, hearing things.
I actually turn off my ears at nighttime so I can't hear.
Just set it on your nightstand. And says as long as she's staying there, she has to follow her rules. Farron beats Greg in a pull-up contest and collects money from all the other gym bros. Later, Henry dances for Farron, who is distracted while he performs.
Makes it sound like he's doing like a chair dance.
Right?
It's like a quad pirouette in like a leap series. Like
it's like for performance.
Romeo.
And then he asks if she was cleared for the PBT summer dance program. And then she flashes back to meeting with her doctor, who did in fact give her approval, but she lies to Henry that she hasn't been cleared. Mouse finds on the SpookySpaghetti that someone posted their pictures and identities, which have never been released because they're all underage. Mouse shows the girls and shows them images of the new urban legend Bloody Rose Waters, lurking in places they all have a connection to. And Tabby's like, well, all these photos of Bloody Rose must be photoshopped. There are theories that Archie skinned his mother's face and uses it as a mask. There are postings about sightings of her and how to summon her. Apparently, if you look into a mirror, one that Angela also looked into, and chant Bloody Rose Waters 5 times, she will appear. Mouse suggests doing it in the girls' bathroom after hours, and then all the rest of the friends are like, no. And then Imogen, for some reason, is super on board with this and gets everyone to agree. Tabby works at the Orpheum when Mrs. Langsbury comes in to grill her about her film and that it misrepresents her son. Tabby insists that her movie isn't directly about him, but she's not listening at all. She calls Tabby a liar and demands she take it down in 24 hours or she'll sue for defamation. Imogen visits her mom's grave with Sydney. She remembers that Davy gave her a patchwork blanket that she sewed together for the baby. Sydney's like, hey, guess what? I found another long-term renter for your house. Just cool it for a little bit, okay? And then
Well, she found a renter instead of a buyer.
a buyer. Okay. But it's just like, just always with this, Sydney?
Well, it has been 6 months.
Fair enough. But when she went in there into the house, she found a pantry full of supplies and presents, presumably for the baby. For Imogen's baby. Imogen defends herself, saying if A escapes after the verdict, there's nothing to stop them from going after the baby. The Winters family don't understand this. Sydney's like, well, I made you an appointment to see Dr. Sullivan alone, one-on-one, and maybe it'll help opening up to her. Tabby reads through comments on her movie, which are sympathetic to Chip, and one even accuses her of working with A to kill him. She decides to set the video to private. The girls go to the bathroom after hours and perform the Bloody Rose ritual, but nothing happens. Imogen goes to therapy and says that she hasn't been taking her anxiety medicine because she wants to have her edge when A comes for her. Dr. Sullivan asks if her recent actions are about her not wanting to let go of Estelle, and talks about Imogen calling off the adoption for the last couple she picked. Imogen's like, well, I got a weird vibe from that Ezra dude.
Same.
Which is, it's pretty funny, but also writers, you can't. I see what you're playing both sides here. Oh, last season they're the perfect couple that you pull in Ezra. This season you're saying you're with the fans that aren't with Ezra. Pick a side.
What side do you pick?
Not Ezra.
Okay, I just was checking. You're.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, you got to have scruples if you're going to be doing this. So, they're trying to play to both crowds, and I see what they're doing. She tells Imogen that she would unintentionally lead A to Estelle, and Imogen's like, no, shit. Imogen leaves a final basket at the Winter's doorstep, promising that this is the last basket, and it has the patchwork blanket. Ash surprises Mouse at school, and she's lurking on SpookySpaghetti again. He's like, you're freaking me out with how much you're on it. Tabby goes to the Orpheum, where Wes is reading a newspaper, and it includes an article about Chip written by Mrs. Langsbury, talking about how her son is the forgotten victim of A. Corey and Farron go grocery shopping, and Corey's like, well, I got accepted into law school, but I think I should defer because it would mean moving back to Pittsburgh. They see Martha Beasley, who looks much better and is now dedicating her time to a new church, Our Mother of Holy Grace. This is my favorite part of the new season. Martha claims that Kelly is thriving with remote learning there and has a safe haven with the church. Farron visits Kelly at the church, and Kelly's like, I have never been better. It's so great here. Farron and Imogen both tried to call her, but Kelly's like, I didn't want to be a burden to you. And Farron's like, you wouldn't. We're friends. And I go, that's very nice. Farron confides in her that the doctor gave her the all clear, but she had the break away from dance has given her a chance to see how traumatizing it was for her. Kelly promises that she and the church will pray for Farron. Farron goes to the dance studio where she confesses to Henry that she gave up her spot at PBT and that she's been cleared to dance but doesn't want to anymore. She wants him to go anyway. He says that he loves her and would stay in Millwood for her. Tabby has therapy with Dr. Sullivan, which I then went, okay, so Tabby's been having solo sessions, but like Sydney never had Imogen go have solo sessions.
And maybe she signed them both up at the same time?
Maybe. And discusses all her anger she has about Chip, his mother, the paper running their story, being silenced by her, like not having any closure about Chip, and what Chip did. And Dr. Sullivan's like, maybe write your feelings down. Mouse is getting ready for a date with Ash when she gets a notification from SpookySpaghetti about Rosewater Cabin being found in the woods. She cancels with Ash and lies that she has to do inventory with her at her parents' pawn shop. The Nobles and Noah play Monopoly. Noah lands on Mrs. Noble's space, and she's like, well, your payment there doesn't include the room and board for the last 6 months. The best part of it is Sean looks at his mom and he goes, Mom.
Well, and even the dad looks at her like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Noah announces that her mom is officially 6 months sober and is getting out tomorrow and is moving back home tomorrow. Imogen and Tabby catch up, and Tabby vents that she wishes she would have carved the A into Chip's chest when she had the chance. She asks if that makes her an awful person, and Imogen's like, no. Imogen suggests she write her anger down in a different way. Greg and Kelly make out on her bed, and she gets off the bed, gets on her knees, and then starts praying for forgiveness for having improved thoughts and desires.
This is my favorite scene in these entire 2 episodes, and I only wish I had the wherewithal that when a man asked me to do that, I had gotten on my knees and prayed, because that would have been fucking hilarious.
Mallory Bechtel is just killing it.
It's so good.
It's so funny.
That's so funny.
He gets so annoyed that they're not having sex, and then she goes, "I'm gonna make a believer out of you," and asks him to go to church with her. Mouse gets Farron and Noah to search for Bloody Rose's cabin. They find the cabin though Farron and Noah look at the sketchy cabin and go, "We're not going anywhere near that." They hear a noise behind them and whirl around to find Ash. Mouse and Ash go to Pinball Pizza where they discuss. He's like, "Yes, I was tracking you, but you shouldn't be lying to me," because he's the one who set the post on SpookySpaghetti for her to go find it. He then apologizes.
I don't know if he said it or if he was saying he saw it.
And sent it to her?
Yeah, because she's like, "You laid a trap," and he's like, "No, I just like followed the clues."
Oh, okay. He apologizes for doing this to her, but like it's like, "You can't lie to me." She apologizes to him, and it's like, "Please don't break up with me." And he's like, "No, I don't want to break up with you." And he's like, "I love you," and they kiss.
And we go, "Oh."
And he's like, "Can you just ease up on the spooky spaghetti?"
It's a little spooky.
Yeah, you're making my tummy hurt with all this spooky spaghetti.
That'd be me. I don't do spookies.
No.
I don't like this Bloody Rose shit.
It's scary.
It's scary.
The costuming on Bloody Rose is pretty good. At least, the head part. The girls listen with Dr. Sullivan on her old-timey radio for the news of the verdict of the trial. There's also war breaking out in Europe. Archie receives the death penalty. Dr. Sullivan asks if they want to continue therapy, and they're like, "We all do." Tabby thanks Dr. Sullivan as she took her advice, and then we cut to Mrs. Langsbury visiting Chip's grave, which was defaced with red spray paint that says "rapist." Pastor Malachi, who's the pastor at oh god, I just lost it. Our Mother of I missed it. I'll have to go back. Leads the youth group with Greg and Kelly in attendance. There's an activity the church used to do that they're bringing back, and it's a celebration and a purging that will help them get rid of the town's sins called Redemption House.
I'm so excited for this.
I'm so intrigued. The liars sunbathe on the roof of Noah's apartment, and she's like, "Well, I didn't tell my mom that I'm moving out of the Nobles, so just keep it between us." The liars get called into the new Principal Smithy's office, who say they all failed their Keystone exams, aka Pennsylvania's version of like final exams, and have to take summer school to be able to pass on to the next year. But they'll be free and clear in 1 month for July 4th. That night at Rose's cabin, Sabrina Hooper and Nick Brody, significance we find out next week, break into there trying to find her. They don't and go to have sex on the dirty-ass mattress.
They break into the Bloody Rose cabin to try to find her.
Yes. They don't find her, and they're like, "Well, we could have sex on this disgusting floor on this mattress." And they're like, "Oh, boy."
And the moment two teens are going to have sex in a creepy cabin, what does that mean? They're going to die.
That's right. And then Bloody Rose comes in and murders them.
The end.
The end.
Okay. Well. Did you go to summer school?
Oh, God. I took summer school in college.
Oh, high school. This doesn't count. College doesn't count.
No, I never went to summer school in high school or elementary.
Yeah, me neither. I only did Saturday schools
Right,
for attendance. And sometimes we did them on Wednesday nights, but it was still called Saturday school.
Interesting.
I didn't write it.
Teachers are like, "We have busy plans this weekend, so I'd rather just work a late night."
No, it was what it was.
Yeah, for absences, they held us at lunch. We had to go in this little corral. But a corral where teachers were. We had to go sit there for a while.
It's so funny. How does Kelly know A killed Chip?
I'm assuming the hospital called that her dad was murdered.
But how does he know? How does she know that A killed Chip specifically?
Oh, that's true. I don't know. Maybe they're really loose-lipped at the police station. Well, he also went and killed someone else. I'm not supposed to tell you
But how do they know? Because he hasn't been caught yet.
Maybe witnesses by his mother?
Okay.
I mean, his family was there. He opened it up from, because it was Christmas.
Uh-huh.
I'd assume they saw him. You know what I mean?
Oh.
But then I don't know how word got out.
We talked about this earlier. A literally commits these murders in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So many murders, so fast.
Mm-hmm. Listen, they can move. They know this town like the back of their hand.
Archie's like, "I got this."
That's right. Let me tell you. Archie is, Oh, I lost it. That's all right.
Did they leave Archie in the mask in custody?
I think so. I think Archie was in the mask in the hospital bed.
And have they ever checked under the mask to make sure it's Archie?
I know. This is the thing that's bugging the shit out of me.
Me too.
I want to know what's under the mask. It's not going to be anything. It's not going to be anybody important and stuff. But like now we've gone on so long with this mask. That was one of my big bummers at the end of last season. It's like, oh,
I wanted a face reveal.
Yeah, just like something, because otherwise it's just a faceless like figure going around. And it's, I guess it's maybe we don't find out. It's like a Michael Myers thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it. He seems pretty. I kept saying Leatherface. I don't know if anything about Leatherface to really follow up on this, but I do know about Michael Myers that like he doesn't speak. He's just this ominous figure that goes around killing people, and is kind of like a Terminator. like you just can't take him down. So I feel like maybe that's what they're doing with
the
him.
vibe.
Yeah, so we might not get a face.
Dr. Sullivan, welcome. Hello.
Welcome. Welcome back.
Dr. Sullivan goes, well, don't worry. Your two options are he goes to Welby or he dies. In what world is that helpful for these girls? Like, that's just horrifying information either way.
And then I think Tabby directly talks about that she's worried about that. She's worried about him pleading insanity.
Yeah.
So that he'd go to Welby.
And get out.
And Dr. Sullivan's like, I didn't write this down.
Dr. Sullivan's so dismissive of their fears. Like, she's
really
like, but
bad.
he won't get out. And I'm like, girl, were you not with us for the last 7 seasons of a different show?
She was.
You were there. A got you.
That is the thing that bugs me the most about Dr. Sullivan. She should be telling him about her experiences, even if it's oblique, of like, yeah, this can really happen out there. But at least she's not good at validating any of their feelings. She just goes, well, you can't worry about that. It just kind of goes like, yeah, it is really scary, but you can't live like the proper thing. I'm no psychologist or psychiatrist, but the proper thing would be to tell him it's like, yes, but you can't let that paralyze you from living your life. You have to be able to deal with these things that something horrible could happen and has happened to you. But like you have to continue like finding a way through. But she never kind of vocalizes that. It's just like, why don't we do an exercise where we think of the worst possible thing that's happening? Which is an exercise that I've done in therapy, which is to show you that, wow, that's probably not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But for these girls, it will.
Well, and also, like, if it did happen, like, how would you cope with it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's more to it than that. And she doesn't, it's half-baked.
She's really bad at her job.
Which makes sense. She was Mona's therapist, and look what Mona was doing while she was in therapy.
Right.
Let's talk about Mouse for a minute. Mouse is the best argument for parental control. I was watching this and I was like, I don't condone not letting your teenager like use social media or whatever. And I'm like, Mouse shouldn't have the internet. This girl is so hyperfixated on SpookySpaghetti. And it's so scary. Like, and it's scary for Ash, and like they address that and all of that. But like, she is just like obsessed with like and I don't know if it's like she's trying to solve the mystery around her life, if it's something else to be afraid of, but like she's like, well, there's enough distance between it that maybe it's not real. Like, like I don't know what the storyline is supposed to be. Because it's like an urban legend. But like, even if it wasn't an urban legend, like people posting their identities online, big problem. She's like, oh, I emailed the admins. I'm like, call the police.
Right.
Call the police. Also, then Tabby's like, oh, well, the photos were probably photoshopped. How does someone know places that are important to you?
Right. That is definitely something you need to flag.
Who's watching them?
Mm-hmm.
And is it Bloody Rose Waters?
Ooh. Yeah. I think it's definitely like control, being able to like spot something or like try and like keep an eye on it. And I think also to try and maybe rationalize what happened with Archie, because the reason she's on there is really tracking all the fandom and things around Archie. So it's like maybe trying to understand through other people's experiences and fascination with it, if it's like what Archie is and why Archie is the way they are.
It gives an Archie origin story.
Yeah, right. It essentially, because for Mouse and them especially, it's like, what the hell is Archie? And, maybe there's a way, if she finds more information or somebody else does, that can bring some sort of closure to this vague, horrible occurrence that happened to her. Because it's like this, I mentioned that it's just a figure. It doesn't mean anybody. But for them, it's like, this is literally like a random ass person. And we have no idea why they did what they did.
Mm-hmm. Also, speaking of things that don't quite make sense to me, if the girls never really truly got to like try Chip, how does anyone online know that that video is about him?
Oh, gotcha. Right. And then they wouldn't know.
They wouldn't know Tabby was involved, would they?
Supposedly not, because she
is a minor.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it was released before their photos are up.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
I have a
Unless
lot of
it really caught, like, I think there is a gap where it goes, that goes up, their photos are released, and then there's the comments. So maybe it's spread. Yeah. This is done a bit too hasty, maybe, for like to really like parse that one cleanly.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's what they're doing. But it would have been more impactful, I guess, for what they're doing of like people just playing devil's advocate with the person in the scene, right?
Yeah. They're victim blaming.
Exactly. Yeah. They just like victim blamed in the context of the movie rather than being like, well, this girl like teamed up with A. And it's like, yeah.
Farron has apparently forgiven her mom for a very, very egregious like form of almost child abuse.
They set up Madame Geary as the bully. Corey's the bully in Farron's life.
Yeah.
And they drew the direct line to that. Madame Geary... Didn't Madame Geary point her to her physical therapist?
Yeah.
I don't know, you need to be looking at home on this one. Why yeah. Do you think Madame Geary had a tattoo? Do you think Farron actually did it?
Maybe.
Yeah, that one doesn't line up at all. But because Madame Geary Madame Geary has faults. I'm not saying that, but Madame Geary was not the biggest bully in Farron's life.
No, her mother was.
Yeah, and we also don't know, she's not in the next episode or anything. It's like, is she back in for it? Like, is she just like back at the house? Are they just like a nice happy family again?
I have so many questions about the family dynamics in all of these families.
But it seems like for most of the parents and stuff, it's just like, well, we got other things to do, so just make yourself sparse. We don't have storylines for you this season.
Well, but then Mouse's parents are like, and we want the number to your new secret phone or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
It's like the new number she got. And I'm like, did she not give her mother's her phone number?
Not the secret phone number.
And so I'm like, how many phones does she have?
Right. And Elodie didn't ask for us earlier. I guess maybe Elodie's already tracking her, so it's like, okay, now that we're out of town. But that's next episode, where we meet my second favorite character of this season.
Lola.
Maybe my favorite new character this season. Yeah, Lola.
Can you sue for defamation on a fictional story? Like, and can Chip's mom serve a minor papers? These are questions that I don't know the answers to. And if you do, please leave a comment.
Yeah, please leave a comment. I'm assuming if you make a big enough case that like you could try and do that for the fictional work, but I don't. You know what I mean? But at least enough to tie her up in litigation for a while. But I don't know about serving papers to a minor.
It's so strange. And then Wes goes, have a little compassion for your rapist. And he'll go, of course.
Yeah, I didn't include that in the summary, but multiple people, even Dr. Sullivan to Tabby,
yeah, like, well, the mother's grieving. Okay, well, her son raped her.
Yeah, don't tell that to Tabby.
Yeah.
You got to couch that in some other things. Like, to be able to be like, you can have all this anger to her. She's acting this specific way if that helps you rationalize things.
Yes,
but still.
Her why is that she's grieving, but your experience is still what's important to you.
Yeah. And Dr. Sullivan, you should have Tabby's back a little bit more because this woman came to Tabby's place of work to yell at her and serve her papers.
It was so strange. Kelly has been doing remote learning, air quotes, and Jesus. So this is obviously a cult. Yes. Which is my favorite thing in the world. You know I love a cult.
We'll get more of this in our Riverdale unit next, where we got some very good cult stuff. But love to see this pop up here.
What is Redemption House?
I know. It's interesting. And they use the word purge. And I'm like...
They're going to burn people.
Exactly. I'm like, are you burning people? Are you attacking people? Because I'm assuming it's going to intersect back around with whatever's going on with Bloody Rose Waters. And Oh, I didn't think about it before this, but Rose definitely was part of this church.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Okay.
I'm so excited to figure out whatever the hell it is. I don't have like big theories on it at the moment, but I'm very excited.
So,
our Mother of Holy Grace is the church.
There you go. Our liars have started lying. They're really liars now.
Oh yeah.
But they're getting caught very quickly for the most part. Except for Farron. Farron's a successful liar.
Well, yeah, she just admits to it.
Did she tell Henry?
Mm-hmm.
Is that in the second episode?
No, when she tells him that she's dropping out of her spot at PBT,
Mm-hmm.
she tells him that she got cleared.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Yeah, it's at least in the summary. But maybe the summary is different.
I thought she didn't tell him.
And just said she was giving up her spot.
She was giving up her spot to give it to someone else. Yeah, I didn't think she told him that she got cleared.
Oh, maybe
I think she said she wasn't accepting it. And because then he's like, well, I'll stay here with you. And I'm like, but does he know she can't go versus like she doesn't want to go?
Yeah,
because then
I think you're right, and I was just relying too much on the summary. Because then in this next episode, he asked if she was cleared to do swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like stuck around but can't find a job, and she looks really guilty about it. And I think it's because she didn't tell him the truth.
Right.
Anyway, so we have Farron lying. We have Mouse lying to Ash. Everyone's lying to their boyfriend except for Noah. Noah's lying to her boyfriend's mom.
Yeah.
So she's lying about her mom being home, and I don't blame her.
And she's just not telling her boyfriend things in the next episode.
We haven't gotten there yet.
That's true. But yes.
Tabby's not really lying yet. She lies a little when she meets what's his name because she's like, oh, I don't like horror movies, but that's the next episode, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, there's not a lot of... And Imogen doesn't lie until the next episode either.
No. So yeah, we kind of get a laying of the land, essentially, of this first episode.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Again, we're kind of like slow-rolling mystery on this, and that kind of continues to the next episode, too.
Who's Bloody Rose and who's getting purged?
Exactly. What is going on at Redemption House? But I think we're probably good to move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Moving on to Chapter 12, Summer Lovin'. Well, Emily massages her back here. All right. Imogen is on her computer in her room when she sees a woman in the corner of the room. She turns on the light, but then the figure is gone. The next day, the liars go to summer school, and Imogen finds she's the only one not assigned to Section A. Ominous. The Section A teacher kicks her out when she tries to just join anyway and sends her to her assigned overflow section, which is Section B, with all the burnouts and the punks. It's really funny. It's like cartoonish how much they're like, oh, give it to the stink eye, like all dressed like punk kids and like scene kids with like black and like leather. Once seated, Imogen finds a rose inside her desk. Mrs. Gibbons, the teacher in Section A, calls attendance for Nick Brody and Sabrina Hooper, who are absent because they got killed at the end of last episode. A blonde girl walks into the classroom that Noah recognizes. Her name is Jennifer Fox. They were in juvie together, and they catch up later in the bathroom. Jennifer is there because she flunked her Keystone exam, and Millwood is the only school in a 20-mile radius that offers a summer course. Noah seems to act awkward around her, but hesitantly gives her her new number and agrees to have coffee. The liars have group therapy and complain about summer school, including Imogen being singled out. Dr. Sullivan's like, well, I was something of a punk myself. And like when I was in summer school, like I was able to make a good time out of it. You know, you have free afternoons, so why don't you go to the lake or get a part-time job or have a casual summer fling? And then everybody's like, get a job. Imogen stays behind at Dr. Sullivan's to discuss her meds and having hallucinations. It's made Imogen think about her mom's mental health and like the medication she used to take. And Dr. Sullivan's like, you know what? Instead of changing your prescription dose so you don't have hallucinations, why don't you instead look into what your mother took? This annoys me so much. We'll come back to this. Imogen decides to ask her dad to see if he has more information on this. Tabby asks Wes if he's looking to hire for the summer, but he says he already has hired someone, and then a new boy named Christian enters. He's moved to Millwood from New York. Ooh, the big city. Wes asks Tabby to show him the ropes. Farron boxes with the coach, who offers her a job as a lifeguard. She's interested, so he's like, hey, let me get your phone number, and I can send you the deets later. And I'm like, alarm bells. Noah and Jennifer sit at the park and catch up. Jen asks if she was part of the Millwood massacre, quote unquote, and Noah says yes. Jen also asks if Noah's still seeing Sean, and Noah's like, yeah, He's around. Why so cagey, Noah? Tabby onboards Christian. He asks for her number in case they need to switch shifts. Tabby hesitates but gives him her number. Christian heard that she's into horror, made a horror movie, and he's into them as well. And she's like, horror isn't my thing. Sawyer gives Imogen a list of the medications that he can remember Davy taking. She vents about her rough times, and Sawyer's like, well, I know a quarry ain't no place to raise a kid, but if you need to come and rest for a few days, you can use my place. The congregation meet at Our Mother of Holy Grace, where Pastor Malachi tells everyone he's excited about everyone's willingness to participate in Redemption House. Sandy, Kelly's parishioner nemesis, asks if Kelly is auditioning for the cheerleader who gets into a drunk driving accident and kills the crossing guard. Kelly tells her to shut up or she'll run her over one dark and lonely night. Kelly whispers to Greg that they need to get the romantic leads in the play. Imogen is sitting at the bus station when she finds a help wanted sign for Rocky's Diner. She goes to Rocky's, asks for a job, gets an offer to start, and says her name is Lee Abel. Okay. Noah tells Sean her mom isn't coming home yet, but she had to get out of Sean's house because of his mom. He's like, well, I understand, but I wish you would have told me. Tabby scrolls through Christian's Instagram when Imogen enters and tells her about the job she got that day. Tabby tells her about Christian, and Imogen takes Tabby's phone to check him out, and then accidentally likes one of his photos, and they have a very relatable teen freak out of like, oh my god, he's going to think we're so weird. This is an old photo from like many months ago. He's going to know we're looking at his profile. Elodie and Shirley are leaving town and Mouse's grandmother Lola is going to stay to watch her. Elodie then asks for Mouse's secret phone number, and Mouse is like, okay, I'll text it to you. Greg and Kelly rehearse the Redemption House play. They kiss because the script says so, but then Greg wants to keep going, and Kelly has to yell at him to stop. Greg is frustrated over not having sex and leaves angrily. Mouse dusts the dolls at the pawn shop when she finds a rose with the other dolls. Lola's on the computer and then finds a tab open for SpookySpaghetti. Mouse runs over to close it and sees Nick and Sabrina's images on a missing persons post. The next day, Mouse tells the liars about Nick and Sabrina's absence. Imogen can't believe that she's still banished to Section B when they had 2 no-shows. Mouse explains they went to the same cabin that the 2 missing people did, and Imogen's like, you went to a creepy cabin in the woods without me? Noah opens her locker to find a rose. She smiles at it as Jen walks by, but then quickly shuts her locker. Tabby plans with the girls to surprise Imogen at her new job after school. Lifeguard tryouts at the community pool, and Greg and Farron race in the pool, and she wins. After Greg approaches Farron to try and be mean and flirt with her, and then she shuts him down. Noah works her shift at Pinball Pizza when her manager's like, hey, a girl named Jennifer Fox applied here, said they knew you. Do you vouch for her? And Noah's like, oh yeah, she's cool, I guess. Wes and Christian discuss Dawn of the Dead, and then Tabby schools both of them. It's like, no, you're both wrong. Christian is like, oh, horror is not your thing, is it? And Wes is like, she loves horror. Has she shown you her short film? You should definitely watch it. Excuse me. Imogen is working happily at Rocky's Diner when Tabby, Noah, Mouse, and Farron arrive, and she's like, oh shit. She's obviously uncomfortable with them coming. Noah asks they all kind of ask like, hey, what's up? What's going on? And Noah asks about her name tag, which says Lee, and then Imogen's like, tries to lie about it, but all the girls call her on it. She then says she likes working at this diner outside of Millwood. She can turn off her brain and be someone else. Farron and Henry discuss his job hunt, which isn't going well. He asks about lifeguard tryouts, and Farron's like, it was good, but then other than Greg's annoying trash talking, Henry's all protective of her, and Farron tells him to back down as she's got this. Imogen waits at the bus stop after a shift and sees Bloody Rose emerge from the woods holding a knife. Imogen's like, thinks it's a hallucination at first, realizes it isn't, and then panics, and then as the bus is coming up, runs in the street to stop it. She takes her seat and looks out the window, and Bloody Rose is gone. Mouse and Ash are asleep in her bed when they wake up to Lola's screams. They run out and Lola questions who Ash is. Mouse is like, well, this is my boyfriend, and what happened? And Lola's like, well, there's a woman outside looking in with and then Ash runs outside to check. Lola describes the woman's face as being covered by bloody bandages. Mouse shows her a picture of Bloody Rose from SpookySpaghetti, and then Lola's like, that was her. The next day, though, Lola wakes up and sets the table for Mouse and Ash, and then as they come in, she's like, oh, who are you? And Mouse is like, well, you met my boyfriend last night. And she's like, oh, I don't remember. Sometimes I sleepwalk. Love you, Lola. The liars arrive at school, and Imogen has herself seated in section A. Tabby didn't see her that morning, but Imogen's like, everything's fine. The teacher comes in and tells Imogen to go back to her section, and Imogen's like, I think not. I think I was put in the wrong place, and maybe I should be in here. And then I am not leaving. And Tabby pulls her from her desk, and then the other girls follow so they can talk in private. Imogen admits she's failing and is having hallucinations about Bloody Rose and her mom. Mouse asks her, it's like, wait a minute, you've seen Bloody Rose too? And Farron's like, this is not helping. You need to drop this. Tabby asks Imogen about like not wanting to be herself anymore, and Imogen admits that she just doesn't want to be that girl whose mom died, who was assaulted, who was attacked by A, and like all the girls are like, you're so much more than that though, and they hype her up and they have a nice big group hug. Kelly learns that she's playing the Virgin Mary in the play. God damn it. And then while the premarital sex teams are Sandy and Greg, Sandy rubs it in by telling Kelly that a man has needs and must be released as God intended. Sandy's the worst. I was hoping she would stick around to be the worst a little bit more, but that's all right. Tabby offers to show Christian her short film. He suggests projecting the film to the screen by hosting a premiere for her family and friends. And she's like, oh, that's so nice. Okay. She is kind of reluctant about it. But eventually agrees. Farron finds a rose in her bag after her lifeguard tryouts. She hears Greg and Henry arguing outside, so she goes outside to break it up. Greg talks shit to Henry, so she decks him. The coach calls her in and is like, hey, you can't just be like punching people, but like, that's not a good look for a lifeguard. But, you're still going to be captain though. And she's like, yes. Imogen talks to Dr. Sullivan about her struggling. Dr. Sullivan's like, oh, well, if you keep having hallucinations, maybe I should change up your meds. Doy. And you know what? Oh, you're separated from your friends at school. Well, maybe I should write you a note. I can't believe I just bunch of slipped my mind all these times that you're complaining about it. I thought you were just yapping. Noah and Jen clean tables at Pinball Pizza when Sean comes in to pick up his pizzas. Noah introduces Sean to Jen, and he's like, oh, cool. You were in juvie with, like, Noah? That's so great. It's great to meet you. And then Sean and Noah kiss before he leaves, and then Jen kind of watches them. Farron yells at Henry in his car over him intervening. She tells him that their coach made her captain and offers to see if he can get a summer job there at the pool. And he's like, I can't swim. He'll figure out something to do. Okay, this can't swimming thing is going to come up later, so I just know it's going to have to come up later. Kelly has been texting him, though, about a project that her youth group is doing, and they need more guys. Yes, another one in the cult. Kelly confronts Greg about spending time with Sandy. He's like, well, I'm not having sex with Sandy yet. Greg is the worst of the worst. He is the lowest of the low. He is so awful. And then blames Kelly for not being a good listener, but we know he's just pissed about not having sex. Kelly tells him there are other things they can do for each other aside from sex, but Sandy is off limits. The liars watch Avenge, Tabby's short film, while Christian mans the production booth. Afterwards, they meet Christian in the lobby. The girls all make excuses to leave, and then Mouse is like, well, maybe Christian can walk Tabby home. And then he's like, well, I'm okay with it. And then it's like, okay, I'll go with you. And then Tabby goes to get the checklist to close up for the Orpheum, and then finds a rose to top it and smiles back at Christian because she thinks it's from him. Oh, no. Imogen enters the Millwood Creamery, where she meets Johnny and applies for a job and gives her real name this time. Dun, dun, dun. Christian and Tabby walk down the street together and talk about movies and what they have in common. She gets a call from an unknown caller that she ignores. We also see that Farron and Noah get calls as well, and they ignore him. Sandy waits alone for Greg to show up. He texts that he's not going to make it. She angrily texts him on her way back to the car, and then Bloody Rose leaps up behind her out of nowhere and stabs her to death. Mouse scrolls through SpookySpaghetti when she gets an unknown call. She declines it, though, but then gets a video chat from Bloody Rose Waters. She accepts it, and the feminine-sounding voice is distorted. Mouse asks who it is, but the woman responds that Mouse knows who she is. And Mouse is like, what do you want? And the woman is like, save your breath. You'll need it. The end.
The end. Okay. Who in their right mind separated Imogen from the other girls? Like, out of all of the,
so
like,
mean.
if you're gonna split them in different classes, then at least put like 2 and 3. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
She literally got sexually assaulted. She was raped. Her mom died. She was attacked, and then she had to have a baby and then give it up for adoption. Like,
Yeah. Principal Smithy, I'm assuming, rude. Mean.
Strange.
What do you got against her? And then I think it's just absolutely irresponsible of Dr. Sullivan not immediately writing her a note.
Mm-hmm.
It's the easiest thing. It takes 2 seconds. And then also the other thing is just like, damn, you're having hallucinations? That's crazy.
Do you think Imogen is hallucinating her mother, or is she seeing...
So I think in the room she was having a hallucination.
Okay.
But then later she does see Bloody Rose Waters, and so she's worried that it is a hallucination. But if your patient is coming to you and tells her you're having hallucinations...
How do you think Imogen's dad remembers the drugs her mom was taking like 15 years ago?
That is wild. Well, I mean, actually, don't you remember that the plot point about Sawyer having a picture-perfect memory?
Oh, photographic. Just he remembers the whole counter. The medicine cabinet just
He
ingrained in there.
remembers every rock in the quarry, everything.
It's no place to raise a kid. How is Imogen going to get paid under a fake name?
If we made shirts, I'm sorry. I would have the quarry is no place to raise a kid.
And then Camp Mona on the back. Just chaos.
Absolute chaos. Sorry. About what was
How is Imogen going to get paid using a fake name?
That was my first question too.
Like, unless they're paying in cash or...
Which maybe at Rockies they just pay her out through the cash register.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. But yeah, she's not going to be able to fill out an I-9.
How's she going to pay her taxes? Or really get her tax refund? She's not going to make enough to have to pay taxes. Like, she'll... You know what I mean?
Yeah. She's making...
To file taxes, I should.
What do you think minimum wage is in Pennsylvania?
Right now?
Yeah.
$11.50.
Oh, no.
It's federal.
It says state minimum wages.
Okay, what is it?
$7.25.
But isn't the federal higher than that now?
Oh, maybe. Is one of 20 at $7.25 an hour. Pennsylvania is one of 20 states that has not raised its minimum wage above the federal requirement set in 2009. That's criminal. Ooh. That's terrible.
When I waited tables, I think that's when they went from like 7 to 8 or whatever in California.
Oh yeah, so then I was a little bit after you. My first job at Legoland was 8. That's terrible.
It's awful. Imogen gets on the creepy bus like Caleb does to go to Ravenswood. Does this area only buy one type of bus?
I think so. Do you think actually if she stayed on it long enough, it would take her to Ravenswood?
Probably. Maybe she wants to go there.
How
did the bus driver not see Bloody Rose Waters? Just not looking to the side?
Or maybe he's bus driver's just unfazed. I see weird people running in the street.
You know what? I've seen her before.
Exactly. I just drive the bus.
Imogen is literally having a mental breakdown, and that's valid as fuck because someone should be. She's kind of having the mental breakdown I wish Arya had earlier in Pretty Little Liars. Because I'm like, I wanted Arya to really be freaked because she was freaked, and like she'd get freaked, but she didn't like remain freaked. No.
It kind of like comes on later, and then she just starts like, well, then it's all about working with A. But yeah, I do wish that she was then like yelling at authorities and things.
I also love that Imogen's like, I'm not in class A, I don't get invited to the creepy woods, I'm just feeling left out left and right, and I respect that energy.
Just
I too have felt excluded by the universe. There's nothing worse than when you're like, why am I being left out?
Especially as a teen.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
And she's been through so much. I mean, they all have, but like she especially.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, cool. So you're all making plans without me, I guess now, huh?
Do you think the ice cream parlor boy is going to be a love interest, or was he just nice?
Oh, yeah. I think when we got him being,
friendly.
It's exactly. And we got a name tag there, and they had like a little flirtation about the name tag. So I think Johnny's here. This is our second Johnny, right? Because the artist that Spencer was kind of into was Johnny.
Oh, yeah. Also, I noticed that Nick and Sabrina are the two that get killed in the woods.
Oh, my God.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's great. For all you Chilling Adventures of Sabrina fans.
When we get there, you'll learn the names. Not at all relevant to the characters. I mean, she was blonde, but
Right. Different last names here, but that's good. I like that. All right.
let's talk about Jen, Noah's friend from Juvie.
Yes. Friend, quote unquote.
So obviously something happened.
Mm-hmm.
We can insinuate what, you know.
Well, okay,
we get
do literally
one
get
scene of them snuggled in a bed together.
That's true.
My best friend used to sleep on top of me.
That's true. And
we weren't in Juvie.
I mean, especially if you're in Juvie.
What I don't like about this, though, is which I assume it is like the Noah's bi or Noah's closeted, and we'll kind of find out as we go on this journey. But if we get another promiscuous bi girl plot line, I'm going to fucking scream, because this is my biggest pet peeve. Like, make one of the straight girls cheat on their boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, why? It drives me nuts. It's like, oh, because she likes both men and women, she's gonna cheat on her partner. Like, that's not, no.
In every single PLL
single
incarnation.
PLL.
It's something.
It makes me so fucking mad.
It's something.
It's like the thing I'm the most mad about. Forget about Mouse not having parental controls on her computer. I am so mad about the promiscuous bi girl plotline again. Write something new.
It would be so much better if this was, because I do like the idea of Noah has this person from Juvie that she is interested. Like, her old girlfriend shows up. I don't think that's a bad plot line at all.
No, couldn't she have not been with Sean when she was with her?
Right.
Like, would that have been that hard?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see where Jen goes with this, at least. Not top of the new favorite characters list, but, you know.
No. So, Dr. Sullivan tells us she was a punk, and then she also tells them that they could go to the lake, get a cute, have a fun summer fling, which she knows half of them are dating people. Anyway. Or get a fun part-time job. And to that, I have to ask Dr. Sullivan, what part of labor is fun to you?
This is the bourgeoisie telling the working class, we'll just go have something fun.
Why don't you go get a fun little part-time job?
I look fondly on working in restaurants.
Yeah, you know what? I loved that I spent so much time my teenage years waiting tables. No. I mean, you know, I liked having the money from it, but like, I also saved a lot of it because I couldn't do anything because I was working or I was at school.
Unfortunately, the girls only take her up on that. She's like, you could go to the lake. They're like, no. It's like, we're going to get jobs instead.
Yeah, it's a choice. I mean, I could understand too if it's like, well, we want to have money to do things. Like, but that's the plot line. You know what I mean? Like, oh, get a part-time job so you guys can afford to take a trip in July, or, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's like, no, we just need individual places to put our characters.
So far, out of the girls that have their new phones, that they were not giving their numbers to anyone outside of the inner circle, Farron gave her number to the coach, who's gonna be a creep. I just know it.
Absolutely,
he's an adult
100%
man.
Gonna be a creep. Creep. When he said deets, I'm like, nope.
I don't trust him anymore.
This adult man should not be saying deets to this teen.
Noah gives her number to Jen. Mouse gives her number to her mother's. Tabby gives her number to...
Oh, I hadn't even... Okay.
Christian. But Imogen doesn't give her number to anybody.
Yeah, smart.
But does Imogen get a phone call at the end of the episode? They all do, right? From a block number?
I didn't see... it's not listed in the summary, but I could have sworn that actually Imogen does.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too. I think it's when she's standing there filling out the application.
You're right. Yes. And then she just ignores it. But it's all pretty good that they all get this call from an unknown number, and they're just like, nope. Yeah.
Who do you think is calling the girlies? And is it what was the call I got this week? I got a spam call from Toronto from HR.com about prepping for an HR exam, and that I had been interested in their HR exam information. I have an HR certification that I got like 4 or 5 years ago. If I ever requested information from anybody, it was 2018.
They've held on to it for a long time.
I don't think it was real. Also, Toronto,
reminder popped up of like, oh shit, I was supposed to do that 7 years ago.
It was so weird. I mean, I assumed it was spam, but I'm trying to think what else. I always get calls that I didn't pay my taxes and that I owe back taxes. But if I call them, they're going to help me get it all sorted out, which is so nice of them.
Yeah.
But I have, in fact, always paid my taxes. Like, obsessively went over them again and again to the point where I drive myself insane, paid my taxes.
It's scary.
It's very stressful.
Yeah. I don't want to mess with taxes. I'm almost wondering, I don't have who this would be yet, but that if the Bloody Rose Waters phone call and then the unknown caller's call are two different things, and it's like the unknown caller one is like trying to warn them. It's like they're actually missing something important.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But also I just put together that the secret phone thing was not that Mouse had a secret second phone.
No, it was the new phone. That's why I was asking why her parents didn't have the number.
Yeah, I didn't put that together
and
at
you're
all.
like, oh, she's got a secret phone. And I was like, okay.
I'd assumed she had a second secret phone.
I think it was just the new phone. She was going to give her mom her number. She's still mad at her mom.
That's dumb. She should probably have the number.
Okay. We'll go to the cult in a minute, but let's talk about the boys. Christian, I hope he's a nice boy.
I really hope he's nice. He's so nice. Also to be like, you should celebrate your film. You like put together a horror movie. You should like really do it up.
But do you think he's going to be romantically interested in her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're out and about. They're having their little time. He's like, I guess I could walk you home. And she's like, I don't know. And I like that they do with the rose thing being left places, that both Noah and Tabby are like, they think it's from someone, like whoever they're like, you know, Noah thinks it's from Jennifer, like someone they're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good little piece. But I do really like the Tabby and Christian dynamic so far.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, they just do their movie geek thing. And it's cute. He seems really nice. So let's hope it stays that way.
Then we have Greg, who's just an awful person.
Jesus Christ. Is he the worst non-A affiliated? Is he just like the worst boyfriend, like love interest that has ever been on this show?
On this show?
Or sorry, PLL in general. Is he the worst love interest?
Noel Kahn. How does he compare to Noel Kahn for you?
Noel's probably worse.
Noel's got a lot more years of menacing behind him.
And he does like actual physical threats.
And Noel's like calculated. Like he's planning. This guy's just actually the worst. Greg is just bad.
Yeah. Because he's still going along with everything that Kelly's kind of doing for at least a little while. Oh, yeah. I think Noel's worse.
Do you think Henry's going to drown?
I do think he's going to get stuck in a river or a lake or something.
Do you think Farron's going to save him?
Yeah. I think it's going to be like having to do with Redemption House stuff because he's definitely going to get indoctrinated in that cult.
Oh, yeah. Do you think Greg's going to stay in the cult?
Yes. I think as long as the Kelly stuff is going on.
Okay.
I think he's going to stay in it.
Let's talk about the cult. Let's
do it.
Malachi. Let's get into it. Just
Malachi.
tell me, what are you most excited about with the cult?
Oh boy, to see when they start doing some really heinous shit, because you know that's what they're going to start doing. I think this has to do related with all the Bloody Rosewater murders and stuff. Like, there's going to be some weird rituals and things that are going to pop up, and that's going to be great. And I like this, that even like Sandy, who we don't know what her parents' background is like part of this cult, but like also does it like give 2 cents about it, not like how Kelly is. So there's even like gradations in like the devoutness of like the parishioners and things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like fun to like play off against. And then also Kelly is talking about how much it's helped her, but she's also kind of still just the same person, just like more obsessed with like the church. So you could tell this is not really like a Band-Aid at all, or it's just like a Band-Aid. It's not actually like helping her come to terms with anything that's happened. It's like a way for her to like focus on something and forget everything else that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So when she's obsessed with being the romantic leads in the play, it's just the exact same like type A personality coming in. But it's just way more fun that she gets to like do stuff and like bounce off of like Sandy and Greg in like some really like horrible ways.
I was trying to remember the name of the different cults in Riverdale, but I guess we'll get to them when we get to them.
There's what were the nuns? They mentioned that last time. It was like our lady
Perpetual Sorrow. Was that what it was?
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was trying to look it up and then I couldn't find it because then I was trying to give me like real nunneries in Riverdale City. And I was like,
that's not what I want.
That's not what I want.
Yeah.
I want fake nuns.
So it's all playing something like that. And also it uses such a specific teen thing of like really devout, like what really devout teens do to get around, like circumvent around not having sex.
Oh yeah. So like, do you think Kelly's going to become one of those girlies that's like, we just can't have sex, but we can do everything?
Yes, I think that's exactly where she's going. It's so funny.
I do think it's funny that this is on HBO, and this is not a complaint, but that the sex scenes are implied. They're all very closed door. Whereas like when you watch Riverdale, it's like, and they're taking off their clothes, and they're taking off their clothes, and they're taking off their clothes. And in this, like, there's a lot more of like less of that.
Mm-hmm. It's just kind of like quick. They like get enough, and then they cut away. Mm-hmm. There's not like a whole scene where it's like Archie's taking off his shirt and there's the music playing and then Veronica's like half naked in the bed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot less like kind of
just less on screen.
Yeah, I forget what the term I was going to use for it, but yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I would have expected this to go to the opposite.
Me too, but I kind of think that there's been a change in our culture of like people are like, even if the person who is acting is not a teen, like, is it weird to be watching like these teenagers hook up? You know what I mean?
Quote unquote.
Yeah. Like, is it? So I feel like people are less, or like more aware of that. So we don't get quite as many, sex scenes.
Just yeah.
Also, because these are always like adults playing way younger characters. I mean, in this case, I think it's like the 4 to 5 years, which is pretty normal for television.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But it, unless you go back and you watch the UK version of Skins, in which case you're like, how is that ever allowed to be made?
Yeah.
Very inappropriate. But
yeah, and I mean, people probably know Skins. They cast like 17-year-olds in that.
Yeah, they cast real teenagers to play real teenagers
and nudity and everything in that.
Yeah, or at least partial nudity. And yeah, it's not.
It's weird.
It's weird. It's weird. And it's like when you watch the show in real time, at that time, like, when you're a teenager too and you're watching it, you don't have those same necessarily, at least I didn't at that age, like have those same like thoughts of like, I mean, I was like, oh, like any sexual content's kind of weird because you're like, I don't want my parents to walk in the room and see that I'm watching this show, even though they know I'm watching this show. But it's weirder when you look at it as an adult and you're like, some adult told these teenagers to do these things, and that's just fucking weird.
It's weird.
It's fucking gross.
Yeah. If I had watched it at the time, like you did, I would have been like, oh, damn, like, this is that edgy, like, cool thing for...
Exactly.
Like, yeah. So...
And also, of course, like, of that time. Like, I don't think something like that would be made now.
Oh, no. No. This is late aughts.
It shouldn't have been made then.
It was like 2008, 2009, right?
Yeah.
We're just coming out of the Bush years. Well, that was in the UK, I guess. So...
Who was also just coming out of the Bush
years? What? Oh God, David Cameron, right?
I don't know.
I think David Cameron.
I was only tracking U.S. politics at that time. It's pretty narrow in my scope of knowledge.
I think he was very lockstep with like Bush on going into Iraq and everything. Big. That
makes sense.
Ally there, big proponent.
Hate to see it, but regardless, I think it's interesting that they are on HBO and are not necessarily like abusing that place to include more of the like romance aspect. Like there's so little romance in this.
Yeah.
Like there's relationships, but there's not romance. Which is funny because even in Riverdale and Sabrina, there's a lot of romance.
Yeah. original Pretty Little Liars. The same with Perfectionist too, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot more focus on it.
And don't get me wrong, we eat it up.
Yeah.
But this is just a different type of storytelling. So I just think it's interesting. Every now and then I'm like, this is so different.
Yeah. And I think some of it is lost just like how fast they're trying to tell everything. Like 8 episodes. Like, it's interesting what they prioritize, I think, for 8 episodes instead of like just having like character focus. Like how they do, instead of like how they do on like Perfectionist season 1, where it's like, we're just going to background everything, slow roll everything while we really focus on character relationships. So I think there's a happy middle ground between these two.
Uh-huh.
But yeah.
Definitely. It also, you lose certain characters by writing it this way. Like, I feel like I really understand Imogen and Tabby. And maybe, like, I get Noah and Farron, but not in the same way. And then, like, Mouse, you just, like, you're like, what are these plot lines? Like, what is this character? And, like, who is she?
Uh-huh.
And, like, I don't feel like we know her.
Yeah.
The first season, I didn't feel like we knew Farron that well until, like, we got really late.
Yeah. I feel like we get a lot. I think we got a lot of focus on Farron toward the end that I was like, okay, I really kind of get this character and start following
her.
But you're right. It is the Tabby and Imogen show.
Uh-huh.
Mostly Imogen and then Tabby number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Noah is pretty one note.
Where I would say...
She got a second note this season, but...
Yeah, I would say the Pretty Little Liars of old was... It depended on the season who was getting picked on more and stuff. But you felt like you got all the characters in an episode.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
If anyone got left behind, sometimes it was Emily.
Yes. But I think at least you got because of longer seasons too, you had more time to be like, and now like we can spend this episode with like a little bit A stuff, but there's just going to be moving forward on a lot of our individual characters.
What if Emily and Paige swim in this pool?
Exactly. They're back together, so they're swimming together.
I would never get in a pool with her again after she tried to drown me, but what do I know? Anyway, not the point. Any final thoughts on this episode? Who do you think Bloody Rose is?
That's a question for Detective Club.
Okay, take me there.
Okay, yeah, we'll go do that, and then I'll have my thought separately.
What's your thought?
Oh, just that the ways that this is like, these girls are not like the older girls. They're taking self-defense classes. They're like happily going to therapy. It's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna like, not that they're like taking things head on right away, but it's like, oh, they're giving themselves a better chance than like the other girls. It's just like, yeah, we're just kind of floundering, and then we just pretend like we move on with our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was funny. I
do like that they're ready to go. They're ready to rumble.
Yeah, and that Farron, they like Mouse calls Farron a Terminator, or Sarah Connor from Terminator. But that Farron is just like getting like yoked, essentially.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting. I hope that the resolution to her dance plotline is that she's dancing for herself.
Yeah.
And that she's realizing to get back in touch with her art for herself, where it's been driven by her mom and other people all her life.
Yeah, I would hope that like she doesn't abandon it, because I think a lot of the time people go through, like, even without the obviously the abuse and backstory to it, but like she from the way the character was written at the beginning, it seems like she did enjoy dance. Mm-hmm. And so like to allow her to continue to enjoy it in whatever capacity feels good for her.
Yeah. So I hope that's what the resolution ends up being.
Because I think a lot of people will quit something because they're like, oh, like I just did this because I've always done it and I don't actually want to do it. And then years later, they're like, oh, I did love it.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason you kept doing it.
Mm-hmm. You got to find that for yourself and give yourself some distance.
Mm-hmm. Like she might not want to become a professional dancer, but like maybe she just wants to take classes.
Yeah, totally.
Or maybe she wants to be a professional dancer, but maybe she wants to do contemporary.
Yeah, it just needs to refine her reason, her like why, because she's been coasting off of, okay, well I need to do this for this person and like this person, and because my mom said this.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that's where it's going.
Me too.
But anyway, are you ready?
I'm ready for Detective Club.
Let us step into Detective Club. Welcome to Detective Club, everybody. So, Rose Waters, Bloody Rose Waters. I don't think it's actual Rose Waters. I think they will find actual Rose Waters somewhere else.
Yeah, they never got the body for the skeleton on the bed. It was gone.
Oh, right. Yeah. We did not get that. But because they had that like scene where like Angela sees a woman at like the soup kitchen again, and I think that's Rose. But I don't think Rose Waters is who's putting on the bandages and killing people. I think the killing people seems very, let's see. So the people that have died so far has been Sandy and then the teens, right? So she's going after people that are, this new Bloody Rose is going after people that are like promiscuous. So I think that's where it ties back into our church, our Mother of Holy Grace.
Do you think it's Martha?
I do.
I love this. Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's Martha, like...
I was like, I see where you're going, so I want to see if I can connect this.
Yeah. that it's some sort of like taking her power back or something, but also misconstruing like the new lessons and things that she's learned from the church and being like super devout that way, and now taking it out on thinking that she needs to like shape the town essentially and keep it on track from like going around out of bounds and sinning. I think that's where we're at with what's going on. That it's at the very least it's related to, I think, our Mother of Holy Grace and their preachings on being pure and virginal and all that good stuff, so that she's like going out and attacking people. So how does that relate back to the girls? So maybe the real Rose Waters is the ones that's trying to reach out to the girls. We don't really have an A. Like Archie's already gone, and we got the Bloody Rose communication to Mouse, but I don't know why Martha in this case would be reaching out to Mouse and being like, you already know who this is, blah blah blah, you're gonna need it. I don't know how the girls factor in there. So I don't know. I was wondering if the original Rose Waters is trying to reach out to them about her son and about being attacked there.
But why? She was very bad to her children.
Yeah, that's true.
Why would she be good to someone else's children?
Maybe trying to like protect them from like what Archie may do if he gets out.
Okay.
Trying to tell them about what the demon that is Archie or something.
Okay.
But because there's no motive listed yet, there's just some roses that were given to them. It's a little tough.
It is a little tough.
We haven't gotten much in the mystery at all.
No.
Like barely anything. And so
no
6
clues.
more episodes. Yeah. But that's at least for the Bloody Rose Water killings, who I think is different from the Bloody Rose Waters that is contacting Mouse. I think they're two distinct, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Two different people.
Yeah. So I don't know what the other and kiss.
just put my hands together. Yeah, maybe they kiss. Okay. Is that all you got for Detective Club, baby?
Yeah, and maybe the other person is trying to get them to uncover maybe instead of that it's Rose Waters, it's someone trying to get them to uncover what happened in Archie's past and things.
Okay.
To discover the secret behind our Mother of Holy Grace. Maybe it's trying to blow the lid off there because I'm assuming Rose was a parishioner.
What if it's actually Imogen's mom's twin, and then that's why Imogen's been hallucinating her mom? It's because her mom's got a twin. Oh my
God, we're getting a
I actually don't know. I haven't looked this one up.
We're getting a Jessica and Mary situation.
Exactly.
Is Mary still around?
Mary Drake? Yeah.
What if Mary Drake comes back this season?
It's Alex.
It's Alex contact. Hello, Imogen.
Roy.
Pish posh.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we should leave this classroom.
I think, and also congratulations to the school for getting a new janitor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have a new janitor.
So, all right. We'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Any final thoughts?
No, I don't have too much thoughts going on. I think is just in general.
Just my summary of my life.
I think it's
I
a
don't have
good,
too much thoughts going on.
good continuation. I just don't have, I think, too much to like really dig into yet. Excited to see where the church stuff goes.
I like it. I'm into it.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, you can find this podcast on all your audio podcast platforms of choice at Dead Ends. You can also find us on YouTube at dead_ends. If you like this podcast, give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Give us reviews on your podcast player of choice. And then leave us a comment on the YouTube, and also send us emails to deadendspcast@gmail.com. And also, if you have any questions and things for the entire series that you want us to discuss in a potential question episode, if we get enough, we'll do one at the end that'll capture all of PLL. So yeah, definitely write in, let us know, leave a comment, all that good stuff.
Okay, love you. Bye.
We're still here. I'm gonna find out everything.
I was like, no, we're not. Okay, love you. Bye.
We're leaving.
We don't know.
Yeah,
We might not know. It's canceled.
that's true. Yeah. Do you think it'll like wrap up this plot line? Or do you think it like we'll leave it hanging?
I think it'll wrap up. He usually wraps up his storylines.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Love you. Bye.